Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be going over a guide for Matariki Park, the newest map for Way of the Hunter. We have 8 different boundaries to go over and a bunch of different species within those. So let's go ahead and get a breakdown going so you know what to hunt in each area. Throughout the video, I am going to go ahead and give you some major hotspots that I like to hunt. So go ahead and keep track of those. That way you can have just as much fun. The first boundary I want to talk about is Awa Nui Tops. Now this is a private land, so you're going to have to get the private land pass from the computer at the lodge or do the Sam's Cabin mission set right here. Now this area isn't as diverse as some of the other areas, but because of that private land buff, you are going to have some really good hunting in here for those higher tier animals. In here we have the feral goat, the Himalayan tar, the chamois, and then the somber as well. Now there is a little sneaky spot over here where some sika sneak in, but there's really nothing other than those 4. Pretty much any body of water is gonna be a good spot in this boundary. This little creek river over here is really good, and then these 2 lakes are also really good. Now a hidden lake that's kind of small is right here. This one, ridiculous. There's some amazing herd sizes that come up over here, so definitely check this place out. Then down this little valley here, you have a lot of somber spots, but it's very thick, so it's harder to hunt. Not like you're going to be going with this east side valley right here. And then for this last little creek valley over here, this one is also very thick. But if you start from the north and work your way south very slowly, you're going to find a lot of openings and somber and sika within those areas. Overall, this is not my favorite spot to hunt on this map, but it's a really good spot to pull out some higher tier animals of each one of these species. We're going to go ahead and move up to the other private land boundary, the Roto Hoari forest. This place is amazing. It's one of the biggest boundaries in the area, and it also has the most diversity that I can find in the entire map. Everything from the small rabbits all the way up to the red deer. You have pigs mixed in with that and a whole bunch of different deer species. So this place is just amazing. You have your European rabbits all the way up to elk and your red deer over here, and then sprinkled amongst them you have whitetail and sika deer, pigs, all sorts of critters to get after the hunt. Again, with this area, there's a lot of bodies of water, so check out those during the drink times if you're having a hard time finding some animals. But there's a lot of open space in this area as well, mixed in with some thicker forest. Now this is one of my favorite spots to hunt, mainly because there's a lot of open areas and then also dense trees. Plenty of places for stuff to hide and creep around, but also some really good shooting lanes. Now if you're wanting that private land pass, again, you're gonna have to go to the lodge and purchase it through the computer, or this time do the Urkel's mission set. And you can see the sheer size of this boundary right here. It's all the way across the screen from right here all the way up to the very top of the map. That's all Roto Hoari forest, so you have a lot of room to spread your wings. For the hot spots, I've already mentioned all the bodies of water. I'm gonna have to stick to that as well, because right in here, this area is lit up with critters. It's just so active through all hours of the day. Then again, right up here on the northern side of this lake, lots going on. I've had incredible hunts. From what I can see, it's the west side that's a lot thicker, and then the east side is more sporadic and broken up. I mean, honestly, it's really hard to break down all the hot spots in here because there's one here, 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 here. They're everywhere, and it's amazing in this area. So if you have not checked out this spot, get up there, walk around, and you're gonna find plenty to put down your sight. So we're gonna finish up with Poia Moe Rise. This place is all right. You know, it's a really high mountains. You do have a good diversity of the bigger species here. You have goats, chamois, a lot like what you have in Awa Nui Tops, a lot of the bigger species, but this is not gonna have that private land buff. So a lot of stuff you're gonna be doing in here is just going to be for the fun. Now you can definitely pull a 5-star out of here. I'm not saying you can't, but it's definitely going to be a lot harder than it would be in those private land areas. I do find this area pretty fun to hunt. It's kind of the opposite of the Roto Hoari forest. On the east side, you have a lot of dense trees, some broken up areas for sure. Then on the west side, it's a lot of open mountain areas. Now I don't do a whole lot of waterfowl hunting, but I'm assuming the bodies of water are going to be pretty good for that. And this is a huge one, and I found a lot of gray legs around there as well. So if you're looking for that, there's a little bonus tip. Now, I don't really have any hot spots for this area. I mean, you can definitely check out right outside the campground here. There's a lot of goats, a lot of Himalayan tar, and a lot of chamois. if you're looking for that. And then on the east side is where I find most of the red deer and the somber for sure. So it's kind of split right down the middle. So I actually lied. There is a really good hot spot in this area, and it's this creek valley right here. I completely forgot that it's split between this private land area and the mountain range here, but there's a lot of good sandbar spots right along this western side of this creek. You're gonna find a lot of goats down here as well if you're looking for those. And the last spot I'll give you is these two lakes here, followed up by this little lake here. Right around this area is pretty good hunting. I finished a couple missions right in that area. Now we're gonna head up north to Awa Nui Hills. This place is, well, not dense at all. There's barely any trees up here. You're gonna have a lot of good hunting, mainly for elk and Himalayan char. A lot of whitetail right around this area as well. Pretty good hunt. Everything down from small game animals like the European hare up to elk. So you got the big boys in there as well. And you're able to make some really long distance shots in this boundary. The trees are minimal and the hills make up for that. So you really got to work your angles to get some good shots and even just find the species you're looking for. Some really good spots are right here by this lake and down these two ridge lines. Then up here on the north side, you do have this lake as well. But then all around these ridges right here, there's going to be elk just everywhere and some Himalayan tar up on this northern side. That's really about it from Awa Nui Hills. It has a kind of a lackluster feel because it's so open, you can see so much, but the hunting is fairly sporadic and spread out, so you really got to find a lot of different stuff. And if you're looking for some whitetail, there's like 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 different emblems right there, and they're just all over this area. It's just a whitetail haven. We are back at the starting boundary of Okiokinga Hills. I haven't really spent a whole lot of time here, but what I can say is it's pretty spread out, pretty open. There is some dense forest on the east side, but as far as I've been able to tell, most of this area is wide open and pretty easy to see all the critters you want to get after. One of my favorite spots to hunt is right here along this lake and these ridge lines. There's some pretty sweet shots that you can take. I will say it seems like most of my critters in this area are pretty low genetic, low tier animals. If anyone has suggestions for this boundary, please leave me a comment down below and I will definitely check anything out. In this area, it's a lot like Awa Nui Hills. You have a lot of different species diversity, all the way from small game up to the big boy elk. And mixed in, you're going to have some sandbar and some sika deer. So it's a pretty good hunt, pretty good species list. Just not one of my favorite areas to get after. Now we'll head over to the Red Deer Haven. It's the Awa Iti Woodlands. This place is pretty crazy for red deer. If you're looking for deer species again, right here is probably going to be a really good bet. You have whitetail, red deer, sika. Now, you don't really have any sandbar, but you do have some pigs, some fallow, and all that going on. You even have some guinea fowl. For the hot spots, again, definitely check the water, but right here by this campsite is a huge red deer spot. You're going to have so many different herds coming in. I believe there's at least 4, maybe 5 different herds that you can check out. And one of my favorite spots to spend time is up here in the north around all these little puddles. The red deer take their time to get in, but once they're in, there's a huge herd and you have so much to look at and get after. So I definitely suggest up there if you're looking for red deer, sika, or even fallow from time to time. Now we're headed to another one of my favorite areas, Aroha Meadows, and this is a very lovely place to hunt. There's some really good hunts going on in here. You have the ghost hunt, you also have the sandbar mission hunt, as well as just coming back here for some more hunting on sandbar, red deer, whitetail, all the way down to small game. You have it all in this area and it's super active. It might be hard to see, but if you take your time, you're gonna pick it out through this stuff as long as you don't spook it. Pretty much start off your hunt anywhere and you're gonna have a good time in this boundary. Now for our last one, it is gonna be the Raki Lake. I really love this area. I found an albino whitetail right down here and it's a very, very good sika and whitetail spot. You do have some somber and you do have some red deer mixed in, but mainly think small game and then mid-sized deer. There's not much you can do for hot spots here. Basically the water, the 2 lakes, that's kind of it. This area up here is super thick and kind of hard to hunt, but you can get something going if you have the time and the patience to make it happen. But as you can see, we do have the European hare all the way up to the red deer, so some really good species diversity. Again, I don't hunt waterfowl, so it's very possible there's some really good waterfowl spots up in here as well. Now for a complete map breakdown, it's pretty easy to kind of see what's going on here. Over on this side of the map, it looks to be less dense, especially through the middle section of the map. On the east and the far west sides, you're going to have pretty good forest coverage and undergrowth, so it's going to be a little harder. So I do want to go ahead and talk about the loadout that I'm going to be using. I've really been liking the Steyr SSG M1, the 6.5 Creedmoor. It has a very good damage profile for all the animals that you're going to be hunting on this map. It seems like it's very much dedicated to that mid-tier animal, from everything from Sika and chamois up to red deer. You're able to achieve that 5-star hunter rating pretty easy from any distance because it stays well within the recommended power. If you haven't purchased the Steyr Arm Pack though, I would recommend the Remington 7600. This 270 is amazing and it does really well on this map. As long as you can monitor your distances, you are going to need to be careful though, because you can ruin your lower tier animals if you're too close when making shots. That's why I like this 6.5, because you can shoot something from around 100 meters and still achieve that perfect rating, unlike the 270 where you are going to have situations where it ruins it. For the majority, you're only going to lose about 1 star if you do have to use this weapon in the wrong scenario. So to achieve that 10 out of 10 stars, you are going to have to be a more experienced shooter with this rifle. That's why I recommend this 6.5 Creedmoor, because you can get 5 out of 5 hunter rating almost every time. For the optic, we are going to be using this Bushnell Elite Tactical 3.5 to 21 by 50. It's the best. Highly suggest you get it from close to long range. This thing is crystal clear. Moving on, we are going to be using a bow. I really like this Sky Vortex Switch, mainly because of the peep sight coloring, but also because of the tiers that it can get to. Now if you're wanting to grow with the lower tier animals, you can use the Sky Gabby Wonder. It does reach down to 1 to 4. Personally, I don't hunt a lot of small game, so I just went with the 2 to 6. The Sky Vortex is perfect for me. On that, I'm going to be rocking the Zoom XD Triumph. I just really like these 3 pin sights. You have one for 75, 55, and 25, just in case you're wondering. You do get a little bit of a zoom when looking down this sight, which is very nice in certain scenarios. For the gear, of course, we're going to be rocking the Overguard 8x binoculars. It just helps me see a lot more when I'm not so zoomed in. But if you are finding yourself in a situation where you see things further out, the 10 by 42 isn't a bad option. Following that up, we are going to be using this tripod. The Giraffe is just taller, in my opinion, better for that reason. I don't really find myself using these too much in trees, so I don't have a problem where I'm actually going into the tree and not able to make any shots. I mainly just stick these out in open areas, that way I can kind of scout around. Now for this setup, I am going to be using the red deer collar, the elk collar, and the deer grunt collar. Basically, I'm just trying to reach all the deer species, because certain species on this map that just don't have collars, so wouldn't be useful in those scenarios. And I don't really call pigs too much, so I figured just sticking with all the deer collars was probably my best option. I mean, this gives me everything from the red deer, elk, and Sika, all the way down to whitetail and fallow, so it's a pretty good spread. It's a pretty basic setup there, but there you have it. Just wanted to give you a quick breakdown. Now I am going to be revisiting Teacup Moon Plains because I want to get a guide out for that one as well. Be on the lookout. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day.